So today for lesson 72 we're dealing with multiple unit multipliers. It's the same concept that we've worked with before, but now we have this word multiple, which indicates not only will we have to multiply by one unit to get our conversion correct, but we're going to have to multiply by possibly two or three other ones. So I have three examples for you, two practice problems that I'm going to have you work on your own. For example number one, we simply want to convert 855 feet squared to yards squared. Now if we had 855 feet and we want to convert it to yards, we know that there's 3 feet in a yard, and we would simply take our 855 and divide it by 3 and we'd be done. The only difference with this problem is the fact that we got the exponent of 2. So we're going to have to change how we go about this, just slightly. The concept is still going to be the same. 855 feet squared, and if you want to, you can view that as over 1. And now what we want to do is we want to convert that feet squared directly to yards squared. Now again, we want the feet label to cancel out when we do our conversions, so we're going to put the feet label down below and the yards on top. And once again, we know that 1 yard is equivalent to 3 feet. So we're okay by doing that. And again, if we go back to this original problem, this is all we would do. But notice we have this exponent of 2 right here, which indicates that there are 2 of those feet units. So not only do we have to do it once, but here's the multiple part of the lesson. We have to do it twice. And that's going to be the key for today's lesson. When you see that exponent of 2, that means not only do you have to do it once, but you have to do it twice. Your feet label now, 1 and 2, cancel out with those 2 feet up there. And we wanted yards squared, so there's the first yards and there's the second yards. Now we'll go ahead and multiply across. 885 times 1 is 855, yards squared over 1 times 3 is going to get us 9. And if we take 855 divided by 9, we come up with 95 yards squared. So again, the key for today's lesson is knowing that the exponent will tell you how many times you have to multiply by that number. If we go to example 2, 216 feet cubed, 2 yards cubed. Once again, we have direct conversion knowing that there's 3 feet in 1 yard. So we'll start with what we're given. And now notice what our exponent is. Our exponent for each of these is 3, which if you haven't guessed already, you know that you have to multiply here 3 times. So feet label again is on top, so that label needs to go down below so that it cancels. The yards go on top. There's going to be the first time, there's the second time, and again our exponent is 3, so we have to do it 3 times. 1 yard and 3 feet, 1 yard and 3 feet, 1 yard and 3 feet. Notice they all stay the same. Again, it's just the number of times that you need to multiply by. So at this point, the feet labels cancel out. We have our 3 yards, so yards cubed. 216 times 1 times 1 times 1 will get us 216 yards cubed over 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. And if we take 216 and divide it by 27, we come up with 8 yards cubed. One more example problem. We have 440 yards per minute, 2 miles per hour. So notice we don't have any difference of exponents here, but instead we have a couple of labels, a couple of different units. And if we look at that first one, 440 yards per minute, well, right there we have 2 units, yards per minute, which is an indicator to us that we're dealing with rate problems. Okay? If we write this out, 440, the yards per minute indicates that the yard label goes on top and the minute label goes down below. It'll be the same thing when we end up with our miles per hour. The miles label should be on top, and the hours label should be down below. Now, if we identify our units, which will be very helpful, we are given yards per minute down here. And what we want to go to is the miles per hour. There it is. Okay? If we take a look at our units, notice not only do we have to convert from yards to miles, but we also got to convert from minutes to hours. Now you can convert either unit first. You can either convert your top units and then your bottom, or your bottom units then your top. It doesn't matter. All right? Let's just go ahead and start with converting yards to miles. Okay? So if I want to get rid of the yards, first of all, my yards label has to go down below, which means my miles label needs to be on top. Okay, again, what we are doing is we are converting from yards to miles. We're dealing with this one first. Now, the key is knowing how many yards are in a mile. Well, if we know that there's 5,280 feet in a mile, and if we take that 5,280 feet and we divide it by 3 to get it into yards, we know that there are 1,760 yards in 1 mile. So we had to do a little bit of math to come up with that, but we have it now. Okay? Once again, notice our yards labels cancel out. One on top, one down below. So we have this miles here. That's correct. The only thing missing now is this hours. So here's what we need to do. We now need to convert the minutes to hours. So this is going to be our second one that we'll multiply by. Take a second and identify where the minutes label is at. Notice it's down below, right? So where does it need to go? Well, when we create this thing, it needs to go on top. And down below is going to be our hours. And now we ask the question, how many minutes are in an hour? We know that there's 60 in 1 hour. And again, the minutes label cancel out. If you need to take a second to review this idea, pause the video and then we'll come back to it. But notice minutes per hour. That's what we wanted. Okay, we wanted that. And notice there's our miles label and there's our hours label. So we know that we did this thing correctly. All right? The hard part is done. Now all we have to do is simply multiply our numerators and multiply our denominators. We begin by taking 440 times 60, come up with 26,400 miles over 1,760 times 1, so 1,760. And if you divide those two numbers, I'll save you a little bit of time. 26,400 divided by 1,760, you will come up with 15 miles per 1 hour. Again, take a moment to pause the video if you need to take a second look at that. Otherwise, the example number 3 is a problem dealing with rates. Okay, so you have to be very careful identifying your units. Don't be afraid to make that in blue there so that you can identify the units that you need to convert to. Problems that I want you to do on your own from the practice set are going to be B and G. Good luck.